feedback on, I'll be happy to chime in where I can. So once again, just a little caveat. I was talking to Fresh earlier before we started. I am a diamond tank player. But if I had to tell you what my favorite character is outside of tanks, it would be Rexxar. And so, to me, Rexxar is probably one of those heroes that people get super intimidated by because you have to control two heroes. So similar to Lost Vikings and other stuff, when you're playing the game, you end up running into um, something that makes it impossible for you to win your solo lane at times, especially on maps like Dragonshire or um, Brax's Holdout, where you need to somehow control a point as well as actually play your game. And so Rexxar himself has some cool little tips and tricks. And so I'll kind of show that first and then talk about kind of what's the most popular build at the moment and then some alternatives. But the
Okay.
first thing to note about Rexxar is that probably pre 10, Rexxar is actually all about Misha. And so making sure that you know how to micro and play with your bear is huge. So one of the things, if you look in this top left-hand corner on my screen, you can see Misha. Misha has 140% movement speed while you're mounted, and you can still move yourself and have her like run and scout ahead of you. And so as long as you don't get dismounted, the bear has more movement speed. But as soon as you're dismounted, the bear has 115% movement speed. So this can be helpful because you can actually get around heroes and body block and get into chokes and do stuff because the bear just flat out runs faster. And so one of the biggest tips I can give you for bear movement speed is you can, instead of, like, if you put your bear out too far and it starts taking a lot of damage, most people will push D or whatever their bear button's bound to and click back. Don't do that. You see, the bear runs when you do that at 115% movement speed. So if instead I want the bear to come back, the standard key binding is you push Alt, which means I like you're self casting, and then D. Misha runs to you at 130% speed. And it's one of those things that it's been in since the beginning of the game. So anytime you cast Misha out and you're like, "Oh, I'm done, Misha, I'm done playing," just hit Alt D, and now the bear will chase you at mount speed. And it is like they can stun it, but like you're gonna waste a stun on a running bear. So definitely get used to doing this little trick of Alt D for controlling your bear. The other thing to realize is that similar to Rexxar, you can give the bear like attack commands. So when you normally move and do stuff, if you do um, stutter stepping other stuff, most people will just right click and they just stand here. And then when they go to the next step, they can right click and A move, right click and A move, and you have a stutter step. So your bear has the same kind of thing with Misha Focus. So if you end up telling her to like D here, she's going to just sit there, even though there's an enemy in range. But if you decide to do like a D shift move, you can actually get her to attack and then move around the target. And you can see with the little symbol on her head who's her focus and what she's doing. So definitely you can see when you forced it to attack versus when it's in range to attack. So the red mark versus the not red mark. So that's something you need to be aware of if you don't want Misha to accidentally be attacking or accidentally pushing things, to be purposefully clicking what you want it to attack. So, and then once again, you're like, oh, you're taking too much damage, Misha. You can hit Alt D and it runs back to you at mount speed. So, definitely learning to micro your bear and feel comfortable doing it is a key part. I don't think it's necessarily game breaking if you don't feel comfortable. It'll just take time. Just try your best to not feed with the bear. So, because very easily, like the bear can tank towers and do stuff. Obviously, you don't want to like just kill your bear for free. It gives XP to the enemy heroes anytime your bear dies, and it also removes one of the best things about having Rexxar is Misha's stun. So Misha's stun, if you didn't know, is actually casted from Misha's position and not your position. So you can do some cool flanks and things where you put, Misha in the bush, and then you're standing here. Oh no, I'm vulnerable, and an Arthas or something comes up and tries to attack you here. Misha can come over and peel for you. So it's like, and so that the fact that you have someone with an ETC slide stun, because he even slides through heroes just like ETC stun, built in on one character is kind of ridiculous. So, yeah, just getting used to playing with Misha, as well as like don't forgetting to use your self character. So it can be hard because you can put, Misha on different duties while you sit here and micro your character, or you can put Misha in a more scouting defensive thing. Like you can just attack and then let Misha scout all the way around this range. The other funny thing about Misha, if you try to force a command out of the range, Misha will immediately run back if you tell her to do that, and she'll move at that 130% movement speed. So, just one of those weird things that Misha does if it's at a leash. So, but you can see here, if you leash it yourself, it only moves at 115% movement speed. So anytime you're about to mount up or leave, make sure you hit Alt-D, mount up, and then just run. And Misha will catch up to you pretty quick, because when mounted, she has 140% movement speed. I don't know why they gave her more movement speed, but I dig it. So, yeah, so that's kind of the Misha basics. So, any other real quick, I guess, Misha questions before I go towards builds and some other things that potentially you want to look to combo or do?
What's like the general range you like to keep your Misha?
Um, that's a great question. So, like on point control type maps, um, I'm gonna tell you something that might be a little controversial. I think Misha should never be in lane. Like when you're sitting here fighting somebody, like your Misha should never actually be auto attacking the creep wave unless you see all 5 enemy players on the minimap. So like Misha's main job is your ward. Like get Rexxar is super strong because like if we're playing Dragonshire and this is the top lane, you've got your 2 bushes here and you got your point up here. So like if I'm up here trying to clear the creep wave, say it's like and Misha's in the bush, there's no way anyone's coming to gank me because Misha's right there watching it. And so like as soon as I know, oh hey, nobody's coming, then I can like use Misha to harass the enemy laner and like he can attack from their bush. And then I'm either doing damage to the enemy hero or I'm just clearing the wave safely. So I would say that your bear doesn't have to be like right on top of you, but definitely make sure that he's in range to peel for you when you need it. And so you can kind of like start playing and guessing what that range is when you look at how far Misha can charge. And so being able to hit Alt W, like she's gonna follow you. So even if like you put Misha some reason you're thinking of you're gonna gank the Arthas that's here, like your Misha's in the bush waiting, and someone comes to get you here, like you can hit Alt D, start running, and Misha will try and catch up to you. Like she always will follow your pathing, so it can give you a possibility to get a stun that maybe we were out of position for. So yeah, I would say there's not a set distance, but I would say just make sure that as you're playing, it's more of awareness of where the enemy's at and what your Misha can do. So hopefully that makes sense. I said because like there's times where I'm playing where it's like I'm gonna start rotating, and I'll put Misha way out where I plan to rotate, just so that way I can see bushes or opportunities coming, or oh, don't run that way because Misha just found an invisible Valyria that was in the bush. Like so, you can use Misha to do a lot of tools. But anyone else?
Generally,
Hmm.
how I played Misha, but I was just wondering,
Okay.
you know.
No, great question. So all right, so we'll do general build stuff. So I'm just going to talk about each tier before I actually pick anything. Um, at level 1, I would say if you're playing offlane Misha, there's really only one choice. It's Bird of Prey. I actually really like all 3 of these, and I think they're all viable. But if your job is to be the offlane, meaning you are catching soak, you are enabling your team of 4 other players to go do amazing things, it's Bird of Prey. The fact that it does 150% bonus damage to minions is ridiculous. So I'm going to set the level back down to 1 and then toggle the minions so you can see what that damage does. Because if you can time it right, when the creep waves are crashing, you can throw out your bird and hit the entire creep wave. I didn't pick the talent. I'm a dummy. Whatever. So you can hit the entire creep wave with your bird as they come in, and it will almost put the whole creep wave to half health. Not a lot of heroes can clear the wave that fast to where you're able to just throw out and rotate. And so Rexxar can effectively double soak as early as level 1 with his bird. So like you throw the bird out and you pretty much hit the entire creep wave. And if there's no enemies and there's nothing to worry about between that and the bear charge, it's like 5 auto attacks and you're ready to go to the next wave already. And the cool thing is if you're rotating, you see how like I could leave the bear to catch the soak, so the bear can finish soaking as I run to the next thing. So it can definitely be, I think, the go-to #1 talent as your off lane. At 4, you're really looking for um, pretty much Hunter Gatherer is the only like super easy auto pick choice. You can definitely go some of these other ones, but Hunter Gatherer is great because it actually gives you armor, and it works for both you and Misha. And like armor is essentially a 15% damage reduction, and it's something that you're just going to be doing anyway. Like as you're clearing lanes, as you're bullying people, like you're gonna get free globes. So I highly recommend that one. Um, Shoot, I broke my own rule. I didn't tell you what about level 1. So on level 1, I also like Easy Prey, but I don't think Easy Prey is the right choice for offlane Rexxar. I think if you're going Easy Prey, this is more of camping Rexxar. So um, maps where you would take Easy Prey in camping Rexxar is like Hanamura or um, Cursed Hollow or Garden of Terror. Maps where getting the mercenaries and Anvilskaya, sorry. So maps where like getting the camps is literally the objective of the map, because the fact that you can solo do camps without any real like endangerment is huge. Like even at level 1, you can do the entire night camp as soon as it spawns at 1 minute without any threat to Misha or to you. So just being able to, you know, just make sure to micro around so that you're only getting hit by like 1 to 2 of the minions at a time. But yeah, like you can do a ton of camping, and especially on Hanamura, where that sentinel camp is essentially the objective. You can go ahead and get that samurai and just get it on timer with Misha while your rest of your team goes and does productive things. So unless it's specifically chosen for that, I don't think that's the right talent for offlane. And then Flare, if you've never taken Flare, it's actually really cool. Yes, it gives you vision of an area, but the one thing that is sneaky about it, you've got a huge range to cast it, as well as like not only can you cast it from forever, the duration on it, it lasts for 20 seconds, and your cooldown is 20 seconds. So you can pretty much have flare up permanently of whatever area you want to look at. There's a really cool cheesy thing you can do on Alterac Pass. So like Alterac Pass is kind of similar to this gap here. You'll be sitting here and they want to channel the objective. Like you can from the bottom lane, or whatever lane is not the middle, you can throw the flare and have vision of the entire thing while they attempt to channel. And so heroes like Ming or Chromie or Stukov, someone that has a ranged ability, can sit here and poke the objective while they try and channel, because your flare is consistently having vision of them doing it. So um, don't underestimate flare. I think it has its purpose, but once again, it's got to be for a specific reason. Like if flare 100% counters a hero, like it's definitely worth it. Like if the enemy team has a Valera, the only way you die is if Valera shows up. So you know, have your bush warded, and Valera is now no longer a threat. So, so then level 4, um, I think Hungry Bear used to be good. I cannot justifiably tell you that it works anymore. I did a couple testings this afternoon trying to figure out, like, can I just take Hungry Bear and, like, leave her on the point to sit there and, like, duel somebody forever? And you just waste too much mana. Like, she does not heal enough. Like, yes, if you take Hungry Bear and Easy Prey, like, you can go solo bosses and stuff and almost take no resources. But if the enemy team doesn't realize you're gone for that long, that you had enough time to solo the boss, um, it's probably wrong. Said so. I don't think you can really take Hungry Bear anymore. They nerfed it too much when they transferred the amount of attack damage that Misha does into Rexxar. So, and then Grizzled Fortitude, definitely take this into heavy auto attack teams, especially if you're into like a ranged offlaner. There's a good chance that getting that physical armor can be huge to protecting you and the bear, because you both get 2 charges of it. So don't be afraid to take that. Animal husbandry is a trap. um, I would love to tell you that good Rexar players never die, so you could get this huge bonus of maximum health over time and be a late game monster, but you'll die. So, as much as you'd like to think you're not gonna die, don't do it. So, usually hunter gatherer. On 7, I think you've got all 3 are viable. It just depends on what your team needs or what you want to do. I think in the offlane type of position, taking flight is huge. It can even be used in the 4-man. Taking flight increases how long your bird is, and that can be huge for not only safe poking, but getting that first slow, because sometimes the enemy won't actually get in position for you to charge with stun first. So but they will be close enough to where you can throw out the bird and then follow up with a stun. And then if you hit an enemy while you have taking flight, the cooldown's reduced by 2 seconds. So every 5 seconds, if you're pegging people, you get more slows, and you're doing damage to them, and you get mana back. So that can really help in your early game mana management too when you're clearing waves. So I think also on 7, if you're doing 4-man Rexar, Crippling Talons can be huge, because now your slow is a 50% slow. Any slow over 40% enables your team or yourself to hit a skill shot consistently. So the fact that you're bumping it from a 30% to a 50% that now lasts almost 4 seconds can be crippling. Oh, I guess it's the name of the talent, whatever. But yeah, that can be really strong for enabling follow-up as well as preventing people from running away. Um, and then Aspect of the Beast is cool. I like more stuns on Bear. Um, if the enemy team has a specific thing that needs to be interrupted, getting this can be huge. Like if the enemy team has a Chen, and you want to be always interrupting drink, getting extra auto attacks on Chen is really easy because he's just going to stand there. So that gives you more opportunities to get more stuns. This used to be, I think, the go-to, but I think how quickly games explode and how fast kills happen, you normally don't actually get like 2 charges off in a quick succession. Like just to kind of show what that looks like. So like if you, I gotta take the cooldowns off. So if you slowed, you stun that guy, and now it only works on Misha cooldown. So you can see we're effectively saving maybe 4 seconds at most off of a 10-second stun, just because of how Misha's attacks and animations work. So like you definitely can get 2 stuns off in a team fight, but you will not be able to get it consistently to where you're gonna be chain CCing somebody with your bear. But if you come in and Chen starts drinking, you can stun him, and then if Chen sits there and tries to channel the drink again, you've got another stun here in a couple seconds for the next time he's trying to do something. Or if you're responsible to save your stun for a specific person or a specific thing, like Melganis channeling his ult, and you need to save your stun, you might be able to like lead with a stun and then just put your bear on Melganis, and when he starts doing his little wind up, it's like you can hopefully interrupt it with your bear. So, like I said, I think this is specifically for a purpose, not auto take. I think if you wanted to auto take something, either Crippling Talons or Taking Flight is definitely more value, and I think it does a lot better with some of the talents later on at 13. At 10, I don't think there's very many reasons to take Bestial Wrath. It's a fun ult. Like look how big he gets. He's so huge, but it just doesn't do enough. Like, yes, it does damage, but it's just really sad because Misha attacks kind of slow still. And if you're, once again, like most team fights happen and a kill happens in the first 3 seconds, and Misha's going to get 2 attacks off after a stun, and you might as well have slowed their entire team and done 163 damage instead of trying to get a couple auto attacks with your bear. Um, I think there was a case back in the day where you could solo bosses and stuff very quickly with Bestial Wrath, and so it was somewhat viable, but I don't think you can do that anymore. So definitely Unleash the Boars. Some cool things about Unleash the Boars if you've never seen it. You actually can hit invisible targets. You don't. They don't even have to be revealed. So one of the things you can do, if you read it, it will say does damage, revealing and slowing enemies by 40% and for 5 seconds. So if the team fight is breaking out and Valera like re-invises as she's running away into the bush, like you can throw out your pigs from behind the wall where you potentially don't have vision, and it will still hit all of those targets. I didn't have vision of those. Like, sure, the healing dummy saw this one, but like, you're able to track down things and use it for effective warding too. And that range is huge. Like, I'm on the other side of the wall, throwing boars. So, I think Rexxar has some really good flanking opportunities as well in that same venue, where your team fight is fighting. You can go back to Dragonshire if you want, like where they're fighting on the bottom point. You ran down to mid to help clear the wave, and they're pressuring in on your bottom keep, and so you come in from top, and you're rotating through the triangle of death, and you just tell your team, hey, boars are out, and like you get not only the slow, the bear stun, and bam, hopefully you guys can like get a turn kill, just because that slow is so good. At 13, I think if you took the bear talent here, there's a good chance you want the bear talent here. But I honestly don't even know if this is more burst is what it is. Like, because if you look at your little ticker down here, it will tell you how much you have bonus damage. So if you and the bear are auto attacking, it can go real fast, like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So once you get to 10, it won't stack anymore. And so now you have to like be aware yourself. My bear is fully primed and ready for a bonus stun. And so now when you come in to run and hit something, like 822 damage is nothing to sneeze at. So it's like 4 additional burst on a kill. But the problem is that like you're going to be potentially using your bear to get a stun or do something. So it requires more management on your end to make sure that you have 10 stacks when you are about to approach a team fight or when you want to do something. I just think that it's too short. I think you get more value out of Aspect of the Hawk. And Wildfire Bear I don't think you ever need, outside of maybe killing Zagara creep. And even then, I think it's not worth it because Aspect of the Hawk is just so good. And so, if you've never taken Aspect of the Hawk before, it gives you a large amount of attack speed. It's that you get 125% attack speed for 4 seconds. So it's like, and if Misha attacks the target, it makes it last longer. So what can happen is, you do your typical play. So it's like where, okay, the bear's coming in, stun someone, I throw this. I can now attack as fast as Rainer. And I do pretty much more or as much damage as Rainer. So if you want to look at your stuff, so I'll pull the bear back for a second. So when you go to auto attack, if you look up here at the top, Rexxar has a 0.87 attacks per second, so he attacks less than 1 attack per second. So normal Rexxar is attacking like this. You land 1 Q. It doesn't even have to be that target. You can hit something else if you want, but his attack speed goes up to 1.96. He's making 2 attacks a second. And so as long as Misha keeps attacking, it's like that hero that has the debuff, you'll get the attack speed bonus. So even though I'm not attacking this anymore, So it's like, as long as Misha keeps attacking it, I will still get it. So, oh, actually, you don't. What? Did I read that wrong? Misha's basic attack increased the duration of this buff. Oh, just by 0.75. Okay, so you can just get it a little bit longer. It's not constantly refreshing 0.75. So, but yeah, you turn into a machine gun, and you are the bruiser. So it's a huge damage spike for Rexxar for team fights, as well as bullying people in the off lane. Because now when you go to fight on points, usually on Dragonshire, your goal is to clear the wave and then put the bear on the point and let the bear cap the point for free while you're clearing the wave. And then if they move up to fight the bear, you can do like a little bear dance and like have them run around the pole. So it's like, but eventually your bear takes enough damage to where you just pull the bear off. And by the time you pull the bear off, you've hopefully effectively cleared this wave again. And so now they have to leave the point to come clear. And then you can put the bear back on top and do the bear dance again and just keep controlling the point. But after 13, if you get that bear stun and you hit them with your Q, you're a threat. You can definitely put a lot of damage out on them. So if you've never tried it, I highly recommend taking Aspect of the Hawk. It's super fun. On 16, all three are good. Just depends on what you need and what you want to do. Most people are used to taking Feign Death. Feign Death is cool because you're invulnerable, and you can still control the bear while you're invulnerable. So you can still get that additional stun or whatever you may need to do. The biggest reason to take the invulnerable is to dodge skill shots like Pyroblast or like Gust, Laser, even a stun. Like just the fact that you can toggle it real quick. Like I know you see the animation, but as soon as you hit it, you're technically in stasis. So you don't have to like wait for your person to lie on the ground to actually get it. But it can be huge at making sure that you're able to survive those ganks or potential one-shot comps. If they don't have a one-shot comp and they don't have a Pyroblast, I think Thrill the Hunt will become your standard on that. So we already talked about how powerful some of the attack speed stuff is. This one here increases attack speed of both of you by 25%. And this one is the one I was thinking that you don't have to actually even hit an enemy. So if we look here, my normal movement speed's 100. I attack the wall, I'm up to 125% movement speed. So it's like, as well as Misha's also 125% movement speed too. So it's amazing to be able to chase as well as like dodge skill shots and catch up to stuff. So I definitely think that the movement speed can be underrated. So if you don't need the get out of jail free card, the attack speed's huge, or the movement speed's huge. And then if you're playing into like Zul'jin, so a lot of the time people try and counterpick Rexxar by picking Zul'jin, and then Zul'jin just stacks off the bear. So that way, like, it's kind of annoying because he just gets free stacking increased damage just by hitting the bear. Or maybe Vala, who's super popular right now, just auto attacks the bear a lot to keep the rage up. You can get this skill, Primal Intimidation. Yes, it has an activatable on it, but you don't need to use the activatable. It's actually really cool that it works just if you hit Rexxar or the bear. So if a hero and summons that attack Rexxar or Misha have their attack speed slowed. So it works really well into those really fast auto attackers, and it's great that it works on the bear because a lot of the time the bear will be up front trying to do stuff, and they will be able to intercept damage. Bear can run through like Junkrat traps. Junkrat's super popular right now too, so you can pick Misha in like your 4-man to just clear traps. And if they sit there and try and attack the bear, now they're slowed by 20%. Their attack speed is slowed. And then when you do your ability here, this Primal Intimidation, it's near both of you. So you can actually like throw the bear out and push one, and the slow procs at both locations. So that can be huge too, to add an additional slow and attack speed slow from range. And so it's a pretty big radius around you and the bear. It just won't show the bear very well. Yeah, it doesn't show the bear's radius, but yeah, it works on both. So, and then lastly, level 20, if you took the boars, the kill command upgrade is amazing. Like, you just turned not only what was already a strong flanking engage tool into probably one of the best long-range engage tools, because now you root the enemies for 2 seconds. So being able to have a 5-man root can be game breaking. Just the fact that like they're trying to retreat or they don't want to be next to your damage, getting a long range root can definitely be a game changer. So I would say if I had to pick kind of like what is my standard go-to build, it would look something like this: bird of prey, hunter gatherer, taking flight, boars, hawk, hunt, and kill command. And so it's a lot of fun. If you have not tried it, definitely try it out. Um, one of the things that you can also do with Rexxar is you can take Frenzy of Commodore or Hardened Skin. So one of the main weaknesses to Rexxar obviously is early game. If you don't have your bear, you're not a hero. And if they obviously kill Rexxar, you lose both of you. And so Hardened Skin can be great to help save your life. Taking 75% reduced damage for 4 seconds can be the difference between a late game pick and being alive. So don't be afraid to take this, especially if that's their game plan has been kill Rexxar all game. And so if Zeratul or Genji or somebody just continues to keep jumping on you in the back line and deleting you, don't be afraid to take Hardened Skin to reduce all that damage. I think Frenzy of Commodore is also good, where you do more damage, and Misha now slows on auto attacks. But once again, I think that if you're picking this, like you're gonna like you're hitting the core, and you're doing 10% more damage because you're just gonna end the game right now, and you need the bonus damage to core. I have a really hard time giving up kill command, just the fact that the playmaking potential that it has. So yeah, I think that's kind of talent stuff. I have a couple other things prepared here for like matchups and other tips and tricks and things for Rexxar. But just throwing it out to you guys. Anything you'd like to know, or any other questions or talent choices that you'd like to talk about?
Do you always like to go the range, or like when do you like to go the slow?
Um, the range helps me play safer on 7. I don't think it's required. Like, let me toggle cooldowns again real quick. So like your normal, that's not helpful. We'll stand next to a target dummy. So like your normal range is pretty far, and you can definitely like hit an entire creep wave without the bonus range. But like taking the level 7 talent, you're able to not only hit from further range, but it gives you mana back. And I tend to find that like with if in the off lane people try to beat Rexxar by killing the bear. And so if I'm able to throw my hawk, hit the creep wave, and hit an enemy hero, like I'm essentially saving myself 40 mana, and that means that it's like 2 Qs, I just got a free pet heal. So as long as I'm able to like keep that up, I won't have to worry about my mana. And then giving the CDR can also help, because you take a 7-second cooldown to essentially a 5-second cooldown. So that means you can clear the waves faster if you need more wave clear, like there's a Zerg wave or something. It's like, because I believe it works on, yeah, damage to minions. So you can do bonus damage to some of that stuff. So I think it's good. Um, I do think that the increased slow has a lot of play potential, especially probably in like the 4-man Rexxar. I don't think you necessarily need the extra range. Your tank's going to be engaging for you, so having a good follow-up slow can be good, as well as if you're going to like pummel your offlaner opponent because they need to run away, like this can be great to remove that gap close because of how long the slow lasts. Or if they tend to have the ability to jump on you, this additional slow might be what saves your life. So like
Gotcha.
if you're fighting like an Illidan or a Kira, um, this additional slow to those type of melee heroes that need that gap close can be pretty powerful. So good question. I said some of it is individual playstyle, and then some of it's also like they're both good. All three are good. It's not like we're worried about a bad talent. So
Right.
anything else out there? I said
Not for me. This has been very helpful, and just Rexxar is not a hero I play very much, so just kind of learning the basics.
No problem. I think Rexxar is a lot of fun, and like I said, just finding what you need to. Um, so speaking of Rexxar, I guess, we'll transition to what I had as far as like weaknesses and strengths. So Rexxar can double soak at level 1, starting with Bird of Prey. So that makes him strong. That means technically you can pick him on any map. Um, I know we like to mainly ban Rexxar on maps like Dragonshire or Braxis just because of the whole point control thing of you putting your bear on the point and then Rexxar gets to run free and do whatever he wants. But feel free to pick him on like Towers of Doom or any other map where you traditionally would see a double soaker just because his wave clear is really fast and bringing Misha along gives him large survivability, which sometimes on like Towers of Doom, um, people don't like sit in the bottom 4 forever. Like that's the typical playstyle is, double soaker, top and mid, and then the 4-man pushes bottom. But if the off laner's losing, they'll typically call for help. And so it's nice to be able to, hypothetically, we're running on Towers of Doom, and I just came down to the mid lane. I can put Rexxar or Misha in the bush here that's in the bottom of that lane, and so now I know if they're trying to gank me while I'm soaking this lane, and then once the wave's cleared, I mount up, I alt D, and I just run back up to top, and then I don't have to worry about getting ganked as much with using Misha as a ward. So I think I honestly think you could probably pick Misha Rexxar on every map and not be sad. Um, so just he brings an ETC slide stun, he brings Rainer damage after 13. So yeah, feel free to pick him whenever he's available and just kind of get used to playing him. He does have a couple bad matchups. And then when we say bad matchups, it's not like they pick this, like GG go next. It's okay, it dramatically changes how you have to play Rexxar. So the biggest one that people are maybe familiar with on ladder is Deathwing. And so Deathwing is super annoying to Rexxar because melee Deathwing has an ability where when he uses his W, which is like the AoE fire, um, I guess I can show an example of that by picking my AoE talent.
Choose a talent.
So
Choose a talent.
this one.
Choose a
So
talent.
it's about this range, but essentially Deathwing, if he pushes that AoE W button that he has, it creates a giant fiery inferno that stands around him, and it counts for both you and your bear. And every time he hits a hero with that AoE fiery inferno, not only does he get that visual flame and help his wave clear, he also heals. So now one of the things that you're used to doing as Rexxar is essentially like, oh, I put Rexxar on the point and I just like fight whoever's fighting me. Well, Deathwing can go to either location or even stand in between the two of you and use that AoE to get healing, damage, and a flaming aura to help out wave clear. And so it can be super annoying as a Rexxar to try and like have to now play differently because most of the time if the enemy hero is running at you, you just slow them and you clear the wave and you walk away. But Deathwing can't be stunned, he can't be slowed. So if you're playing like specifically Braxis, um, like he can just walk up to you and you're going to get hurt. Like he has a little bit of a lunge. It's about the same length and animation as a Misha stun, and so he can definitely get in your face. And any damage you take as Rexxar is impactful because if you die, you lose the bear. So you got to really be careful when microing your bear or tanking hits or trading that your bear's the one that's trading and not your health. So, so Deathwing's one that if you run into a Deathwing in ladder, even high level professional players are not good at doing this. So I can't tell you that it works every time or that oh yeah, I've got it mastered. But I have played the matchup quite a few times to know that you can beat the Deathwing in lane and or you can go even instead of just a flat loss. And so the way that you do that is you pretty much, instead of focusing on your wave clear, you're now playing the Don't Let Deathwing Breathe on Misha. And so it sounds boring, but you've now changed your entire game plan to, instead of clearing the lane super fast versus Deathwing, you're now freezing the lane. And so if you're not familiar with that term, freezing the lane, what that means is we're trying to let's get the creep wave to come back here. So, oh man, it's gonna be a lot harder because there's no enemies. So when the minions clash right here, the lane essentially is quote unquote frozen. If we don't kill or attack any of these minions, the creep wave will continue to land right here in the middle of the lane. And so when you're fighting a losing matchup, you don't want to clear the lane super fast, because then the wave will push further and further this way to where you are no longer able to safely clear the lane, and Rexxar can get ganked. And so, like, if you're constantly trying to bully the other laner, and, you know, Rexxar and Misha are up here sieging the wall, like, we have no one peeling for our butts. And so we definitely don't want to be pushing so far up that we're going to die because we're so far forward. So instead, what you can do versus the Deathwing is, once he clears the lane here once, you just don't clear it. Like, specifically back up and wait for the minions to die, maybe about here. Like, you don't want the towers to kill it, because the towers will speed up how quickly the lane pushes back to the, like, neutral position. But you see how this wave has now gotten bigger? So if I was the enemy laner, I would try and tank the minions right here before they get to the tower, and let my wave catch up and clash right here where I'm standing. So now that the lane is now frozen on your side, because you're not clearing the wave fast, you're just letting them kind of meet. Now Deathwing cannot stack off of you and Bear, because what you're going to do is you're going to have your Bear go to the point, which is like, if we're playing Braxis, like, you got the one bush here and you got the wall here. Like, the Bear can now go all the way down here, and the Deathwing is going to have to choose, where do I stand? Because before, when in the neutral zone, the Deathwing can run through that bush here and be able to jump to you or jump to the Bear to get healing, and then walk to clear the wave once he's hit you with the AoE fire. But if you play far enough out and micro your Bear well, he can't get those W stacks off of you. And sure, you're not going to dominate the lane as you normally do as Rexxar, but at least now you're not losing the lane. Because if he gets that AoE fire, he can just kind of keep leaping at you with the AoE fire, and it's a huge radius. Like I said, it's like that big of a radius of him just consistently burning fire on you and the Bear in that type of range. And so yeah, Rexxar definitely can struggle into Deathwing, but I think the more that you play the matchup, or if you want, grab a buddy and go to, like, the Volskaya sandbox and just practice Deathwing versus Rexxar, and trying not to get stacks. Some of the other common things that people do is, as far as one-on-one quote-unquote counters, Kira can be really annoying, as well as Artanis. Sonya used to, and she probably still does, bully Rexxar a bit, especially if you just let Sonya hit the Bear all day. So, like, Sonya, when her slam build was kind of overpowered, which maybe it still kind of is, you could just slam the Bear all day, and the Bear eventually would take too much damage. So despite that you can heal it, like, Sonya could pressure the Bear off enough, go back and clear, and then not take too much siege damage, and then come back and fight your Bear again. So just making sure in that particular matchup just to keep the Bear healthy and keep clearing the way faster than her. The reason that Kira and Artanis can be problematic is if they can get to Rexxar, Rexxar is vulnerable. So a lot of Kira players know how to use her trait well, where the trait lets you zoom to terrain as well as enemy heroes, and it's got a longer range than her normal E does. So, like, you could be putting, Misha on the point, and you're, sitting here clearing, and then out of the bush she comes and stuns you. And like once you get connected and stunned, you're probably going to lose half your health. And so you really cannot let her attach to you. If she kills the bear, she kills the bear. It's going to happen. But you can't let Kira or Artanis swap or hit Rexxar. Because as soon as Rexxar's health gets below half, he's vulnerable to ganks. Like normally he's vulnerable to ganks, but Misha helps you. But being below half health cuts the amount of time that you have to be able to get back to your safety before they kill you. So those are really the only heroes I would say that Rexxar has a really hard time into. Another one that's kind of sneaky is Leoric. So Leoric can go essentially a Drain Hope build, and he'll just put his spooky hand onto the Misha, and eventually gets to a point where not only does he get tons of health because he's draining Misha, but it actually can kill Misha as we go further. So later and later in the game, if you're playing Dragonshire or Abraxas, Rexxar can't stand versus Leoric forever because eventually Misha will die. So it's something that you have to watch out for, is that they'll be, your bear specifically getting targeted. So a lot of the pros to Rexxar, obviously we talked about just between the different abilities as far as whether it be camping or just wave clear. Like you can do a ton of stuff. You can lane bully. You can capture the points. I think he has a lot of viability in the game right now, especially for the fact that he brings a ETC like stun. So feel free to keep trying him out, checking him out. I have one more thing, but I'll open the floor up to questions because we're essentially at the quote-unquote end time of our stuff. So is there anything else that you'd like to know, or other questions about Rexxar or matchups?
Nothing me. Not right now, no.
Okay.
Yeah, no, this was just super helpful to hear all of this. I haven't played enough Rexxar to have more specific questions, frankly.
That is okay.
Thank you.
No problem. I think the only other thing you need to be aware of for Rexxar is like you want to make sure that your team does a good job of not leaving you out to dry. Like as much as Rexxar tends to beat his 1v1s, the more and more you play, the game's not going to be about winning your 1v1. It's going to be about, helping your team out and doing macro specific things, whether it be catching double soak or on maps where you have to win the point, winning the point, so that way your 4-man team can do stuff. Well, when you are winning the point, what ends up happening is the 4-man, is winning, and they kill someone, and then they're like, okay, well, we're not going to be able to take that point back. Let's send people to go gank Rexxar. And so that you don't have any mobility outside of Misha. And so you are going to be pressured. And one of the two ways that you can pressure Rexxar is either killing Rexxar or killing the bear. And so one thing you have to watch out for is your mana management on the bear. Because if you're constantly spamming heal bear, like, you're going to run out of mana. Like, you can't be sitting here constantly healing the bear. So you need to be picking your fights correctly, making sure to win 1 or 2 of the globes from these minions, so that way you're constantly getting, health and mana back, and making sure that your bear is your safety net. So what people like to do right now is they like to take Genji or Sylvanas or Anubarak. They take heroes that are able to essentially dive underneath the bear and get a stun on Rexxar's for the gank attempts. Because, like, despite that you might have your bear sitting here, say it's like, if Genji just jumps over the wall, say it's like, you're going to take damage. And, like, yes, you can, okay, yes, I peeled the Genji off and I lived this time. But, like, you will, if you just constantly get poked down as Rexxar, it's like you will lose that gank eventually. Or they'll bring more players and a new Brack can, like, burrow charge and reach you from super far distance. So just be aware that your bear positioning and your positioning is pretty critical, because you definitely can get ganked. So but yeah, like I said, I do think that with good bear positioning, he in general is very hard to gank. His top 3 maps right now, competitive-wise, would be Tomb of the Spider Queen, Dragonshire, and Braxis Holdout. I think he can be played on every map, but the main reason Tomb is I added in there is that he brings tons of vision to the map. If you, like since that map is all about turn-ins and spider butts, and the game tends to go late, you can safely wave clear your entire lane at one, and then Misha can run up and pick up the spider butts, and you don't have to put Rexxar in danger. And if Misha dies, you don't lose your spider butts. So
Is it worth taking flare on that map just for the vision of turn-ins?
vision and turn-ins as well. Yeah. So like if you're in the bottom lane, so like we'll pretend this is the bottom lane for a second. There's obviously there's the two small there's the one smoke vent here, and then there's two, one up here, one up here. So when you're
Right.
playing your 1v1 matchup, if Rexxar's bear is in this smoke vent here, it's really hard for the enemy team to gank you. Like obviously if they have a Genji or something that can jump over that wall, like that's something that your team needs to be aware of too. But it's pretty easy to like just retoggle the minions. It's pretty easy to like sit here and just clear your lane, so that way you can go through and just stay on top of your own wave. So like the waves crash, you make sure you get your hawk out to hit every single minion, and then you'll be able to like clear and stay safe. If you see they're all fighting top, you can bring the bear around and harass for a bit. And then, the team says, hey, they're missing. You can send the bear up to check the turn in, as well as like watch your flank. And then as long as you're never like overextended to where your hero is here, and like, the smoke vents back here, like you probably won't die as Rexxar on Tomb. And so not dying means more spiders, as well as being able to take fun things. So like one thing you can do, because you're only responsible for one lane on Rexxar, you can actually take Flare. And once again, I think Flare has more uses than just this, but you can take Flare and have the constant turn in 100% visioned the entire game, because the duration of Flare is the
what
same.
I did. Yeah, that's what I did when I played that map as Rexxar.
Yeah.
I basically controlled bot turn-in with Rexxar.
Mm-hmm. It's super strong. Like I said, like, and it just gives your team that much more information. And like, vision is so powerful in this map or in this game, as far as like where they're at, what to do. If four players are trying to gank me bottom because my flare showed, your whole team, can start top boss on Spider Queen, or they can siege top, or there's lots of options as far as what you can do with the vision, and having more of it is definitely better. So, I think those are his three best maps, but I honestly think you can play Rexxar every map and do well. Like I said, I don't think he has enough hard counters, and he's flexible enough to be an actual good DPS as well as a good bruiser in the 4-man. More CC, more better. If you have a ETC and a Rexxar, like ETC slides, boops, and then you've got that follow-up stun and a slow, like that person's not moving for over 4 seconds. Like you should be able to kill that, and then your CC on your support typically comes out, so then there's a Stuk off puddle or whatever, and that person that just got slit is crying. So, yeah, like I said, I think he's very viable in those aspects. The only other thing I had as a cool little note was the oh yeah. So on what is it? I think it's on 4. Yeah. So on 4, the block talent can do really really well into specific matchups in your off lane. So a lot of the time, heroes that don't attack fast but do a lot of damage have a hard time killing the bear in that particular matchup. So as much as you're giving up this late game armor, say it's like, as well as bonus health regeneration, say it's like being able to potentially win your point is all you need. So like on Braxis, you may not finish this until like 13 minutes in, just because like yes, there's a globe generator above you, but like you're not constantly double soaking. You're also trying to win the point, and the Zerg is so strong on that map that you may never complete this if you win early with the Zerg. So taking that physical armor into those specific matchups can be really impactful. So I know that this is the go-to. Just don't be afraid to pick this into the matchups where most of the damage they do is from physical armor. I wouldn't take it, obviously, if the matchup or their game plan is to just keep rotating somebody on you that blows up that armor real quick. Like if they have a Tracer or a Tychus or something, like don't even bother. Even if it helps you with your matchup, like you're just going to like lose all of your stacks before it becomes useful. But into like a Greymane or a Rainer or even a Vala, like just being able, or Zul'jin, being able to stop like that much damage on you or the bear can be the difference between living and not living, versus the health regeneration on this won't help you until you've completed that for the 15 armor. So you either get 15 armor permanently or you block 2 auto attacks for 75% damage. So, but yeah, that's all of my notes that I had planned for this time. Anything else that you'd like to know, or any other questions about Rexxar?
No, this was
That
really helpful.
was really
Thank you.
informative.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I think you did a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I said, feel free to DM me, whatever it may be. Like I said, I am not a Grandmaster player, but I do think that Rexxar has a lot of viability. And if you have a question or you'd like maybe a replay reviewed or something, I can definitely take a look and give you some tips or tricks on what's going on with Rexxar and let you know if things are a little off, or if just hey, you did your best and there's nothing you can do. I have a game I played the other day where the 4-man was losing. They were losing so much that I constantly had people trying to gank me top, and it was successful once or twice on Dragonshire, and I was like, okay guys, like, you gotta do something. They keep sending 3 players up here to kill me. Like, I had got to a spot where, like, I had a Ragnaros. Like, if this was the Dragonshire fort, the Rag came from, like, here. Like, he ran around me to, like, gank me because I was like, what the heck is going on down there? And, but yeah, we pulled it out. We were able to survive long enough. We got Rooting Boars at 20, took a big team fight bottom, and pushed in and won. And so, like,
Nice.
it's like you definitely can make plays on Rexxar. So, yeah, work on generic bear management. Don't forget Alt-D or whatever that, skill combination is for you for the Misha focus. I think that's, like, the coolest tip I ever learned, just because I don't know how many times I'm like, Misha, attack this. And so she's sitting there clearing the lane, and then, like, I'm rotating, and, like, you can see Misha starts coming. But, like, if you look at how fast she's running, she's only running at like, she starts running way late. So to be able to, like, make sure that Misha's always with you, you can just hit Alt-D, and she will, like, increase her focus to get to you. So just don't forget to always bring her with you. Sweet. Well, thank you guys for joining us tonight. Like I said, once again, I'm Rock. Feel free to DM me anytime on the CCS server here. The new Malthael Last Rites one's starting next. I think I'm going to stop in and listen to Mr. Silver Spy on that one. And then stay tuned for Master Class this evening with Not Paradox. They'll be later in the day. So, sweet. Thanks, guys.